we've seen a 50% month-on-month growth average since we launched the bar a year ago. So it's absolutely flying.
Was that always the plan, to go multi-channel? It's quite ambitious.
I went home last night, sort of reflected on my day, and I'd recorded an interview in the morning. I'd packed some boxes, sorted out my daughter's World Book Day outfit. I finished off our investor deck. Wow, what a varied day.
Forecasts are always so hard to pull together. There's seasonality at play, especially in supplements particularly.
Welcome back to Treyd Secrets, the podcast where we go deep with operators building and scaling real inventory-heavy businesses.
And then I realized it was a very complex, confusing space, and a lot of the products really fell down on taste. What we realized quite quickly was the format is so key for people trying to add in new habits to their day.
So I'm hoping to dig out some real operator nuggets today.
Obviously, there's a crossover there. I personally eat a gut bar almost every day. Will I eat a gut bar and a brain bar every day? Time will tell.
I think I will.
You will.
Launching a product is a lot of work.
We have customers saying to us, create a menopause supplement, create a pregnancy supplement. We get all these requests and there's so much noise. We keep reminding ourselves, as tempting as it is, we don't want to be the brand that has 50 supplements on the shelf.
Today, I'm joined by Helen and Chris, the co-founders of INDI Supplements. They've built a modern functional nutrition brand across direct-to-consumer, Amazon and retail with products that get fantastic reviews, and they've done it with a remarkably lean team. Helen, Chris, big welcome.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's really lovely to finally get this going. You built a multi-product, multi-channel brand across direct-to-consumer, Amazon and retail with quite a lean team. How many people are you actually running this?
So in our office, we have 5 of us, including Chris and I. And then we rely on agencies and freelancers.
That's quite impressive. Most brands trying to run something like that would be 3-4 times the size I believe. What's the trick to making that work operationally?
And not letting go of certain things when we probably should. We still do a lot of the heavy lifting, I think, ourselves.
I did. I went home last night, sort of reflected on my day, and I'd recorded an interview in the morning. I'd packed some boxes over my lunch break. I sorted out my daughter's World Book Day uniform outfit for Friday. And then I finished off our investor deck with Chris, and I just thought, wow, what a varied day. But that's pretty much what it looks like every day.
I think that explains it. And you mentioned your child as well. I know you started INDI at the same time as starting a family. Perhaps you can tell us about how INDI got started.
So it's kind of goes back a little bit before our first daughter arrived. So it all started. I was working at a fast-paced startup in London, which I found myself surrounded by lots of nutrition experts and sleep experts. It was a sleep-focused product, and that really planted the seed in my obsession with, I guess, nutrition and health in general. So I started shopping around, buying lots of different supplements, seeing which ones worked, which ones didn't. And then filled up my cupboards with basically everything on the market. And then I realized quickly that it was a very complex, confusing space. And a lot of the products really fell down on taste. I found a number of the products I would take for a while, and then I would just kind of go off the boil because I just didn't enjoy the flavor or the application of taking it. So,
and interestingly, Chris and I approached that quite differently. I think we were both really interested in health and nutrition. I didn't take any supplements, and we find this with our customers. We have a group that are like Chris, spending a lot, wasting a lot of money, wasting a lot of time, and others who are nervous to make mistakes and kind of sit on the sidelines. And I was definitely that person. And I also used to look at Chris, he would sort of hold his nose and sort of down a supplement every morning and think, I'm just not going to do that. So I did nothing. And I watched him, and I used to stand next to him in a supermarket or in a Whole Foods for ages, just reading all these back of packs, trying to kind of navigate what is a really complicated industry. So anyway, sorry, I interjected.
Yeah, so long and short, I ended up finding one of the biggest ingredients businesses in Europe, and approaching them, and then ended up pitching them a concept which was a B2C proposition, creating a brand, selling these products, but using a lot of their ingredients and combining them into a tight range of blends. So I flew over to Amsterdam, met with their team, pitched them. They loved the idea. They were strictly B2B business, doing a multi-billion euro business. And they loved it. They decided to put some money up front, let us use their MPD food laboratories, and develop the range. So that's...
Wow, that must have been quite a pitch.
Yeah, it was kind of a rogue pitch. And thankfully they liked the concept. And it wasn't a space that they had ever played in before, but they could see a lot of value as well. So,
and what was so incredible about that partnership is we were able to have access to their team of experts. We brought in our own experts too, who had a kind of different viewpoint as well, and to really try and create something where we had done the hard work, so the customer didn't have to. And that's really the cornerstone of INDI, is really simple but really smart solutions which address the most common health concerns in the UK. So we're really focused on gut health, mental performance, with energy and sleep, and also really looking at the key deficiencies. You know, most people in the Western world share a very tight, a list of kind of 4 or 5 key deficiencies, to name a few: fiber, vitamin D, B vitamins. So there is a way, and we have delivered a way of simplifying supplements to kind of cover off your bases.
I'm already starting to feel a bit guilty, but I guess there is a solution out there now.
Yeah, there are solutions, but there are also more natural solutions too. A lot of supplementing world had been very synthetic, very pill-based for 50 plus years. So, there was increasing evidence coming out that was ineffective, and taking a multivitamin tablet every day wasn't changing any health outcomes for people. So moving back towards more natural, plant-based, real food ingredients that are more powder-based, freeze-dried, is a much more effective way of supplementing.
So what was the first product?
So we launched the range with Body, which is our everyday, we often describe it as a kind of plant-based multivitamin. It launched actually in a tub, and it now comes in single-serve sachets. We have Mind, which is our brain food powder. In some ways, there's a lot of mushroom supplements out there, but all our stripes show we don't believe in dosing single plants or ingredients in isolation. It's about creating these blends that work together to deliver the best results possible. So this is all about looking after your body. We're actually about to rename it Daily Gut, so it's got a different name on that box. Brain, and then Rest, which is our sleep dropper. And later we launched our snack bar. So that was the product that followed a few years later.
So how big was the first production run?
It wasn't big. It wasn't big. Thankfully, because we were working with the manufacturer, they did smaller runs than they're used to, and gave us favorable payment terms, so we could actually sell some of the product before having to pay them. So yeah, thankfully that was also a bonus of being quite closely linked with the manufacturer.
I mean, consumers seem to absolutely love your product, but hearing stories and reading reviews, it seems to actually you make something that really works and really resonates. What's your process for product development now that you've been doing this for a while, from idea through supplier, first minimum order and lead times, first sale? Like what does the process look like? Well, I'm constantly wanting to do new products, but I have to listen to Helen's reason in that's not the best way of going about it, because it's very costly to actually develop them, and launching a product is a lot of work.
But I think also more than that, we keep reminding ourselves, as tempting as it is, we look at collagen booming, we look at creatine booming, we look at, there's a lot of weight loss supplements coming out, and it will keep coming. We have customers saying to us, create a menopause supplement, create a pregnancy supplement. We get all these requests and there's so much noise that we have to keep coming back. And this is what, Chris and I do agree on, but we remind each other regularly. This is about creating a really simple range. We are not trying to, we don't want to be the brand that has 50 supplements on the shelf. And so we don't spend a lot of time doing new product development. What we do spend a lot of time doing is looking at our blends and re-looking at our blends and making sure that they're best in class. So if new research comes out, if new evidence comes out, if there is rumors of something that's very exciting coming down the pipeline, we are very in tune to that. And we have experts on our team who support us in that. So, for example, Body, soon to be Daily Gut, has been through 3 or 4 iterations.
Yeah. We've changed the formulation, 3 times.
We've changed the pack formats. It is constantly shifting, and we'll continue to honor that. But in terms of new products, we really believe that we're in a really strong place with supplements, and there are no immediate plans to add to that. Snack bars is a different story. That is newer for us. And when we launched the gut bar, I think that's an interesting process. I'll let you talk through the process on that one, because we did.
Yeah.
That was a journey.
So that was a journey. And what we realized quite quickly was the format is so key for people trying to add in new habits to their day. People have their existing habits of tea, coffee in the morning, or what have you. And creating a new habit where someone has to mix a different drink, mix the powder into water. They have to have maybe a little electric whisker or a shaker bottle. There are lots of little kind of barriers to that habit forming. But what we do know is 95% of people in the UK snack, and the majority of snacks out there are very nutritionally light, just high sugar, kind of empty calories, in some respects. So we found a real opportunity to actually take what was the benefits from this product and integrate them into a snack bar, which is the most healthiest snack, the most healthy snack in the market. So, but the journey to do that, we ran a pilot project on the bar before it's evolved into this product, and that involved using a smaller manufacturer, testing the water, testing it with our customers, to see the response before we were confident and had the evidence there to go to a big manufacturer. So we're now the UK's biggest bar manufacturer, and we had to pitch to them to get the business.
It was the most bizarre situation where you're going to a manufacturer and then you have to persuade them to work with you. And that says a lot about this industry, which was new to Chris and I. There's really high barriers to entry. There's really high MOQs. They have a lot of very, very big clients, very big customers. So when you go in and you say, we'll literally be ordering at your MOQ level for a year, potentially, it's hard to get their interest. And I think our brief was also really hard. We were trying to create something really, really different from everything else out there on the market. There's a lot of raw fruit bars. Most of them are really high in dates. That's what gives them that kind of texture and the sweetness. We didn't want that because that means high in sugar. So we had to try and find another way of getting the texture that we wanted without that base. We had to use our powder without making it taste too powdery. We were absolutely adamant on keeping the fiber at sort of 6, 7, 8 grams. Naturally, we wanted less than 4 grams of sugar. We ended up at 4.1, which was our compromise. But it really does stand apart in the market, and it wasn't an easy product. I think the product development took over a year and a lot of iterations and a lot of customer input as well. We're in the process of developing our second snack bar, which we're really, really happy with now. it's as the next step is going to customers for them to test. We did a post on our Instagram and said, who wants to try our new bar? And we're slightly blown away by the response. So we're just making up some more samples now, because we won't sign off on this recipe until we've had their input. For us, that seems really foolish not to. We've got this engaged audience.
Yeah.
We know that they're loving our existing bar and disillusioned by the market in the same way that we were. And getting their input is really vital. So, it's delaying the launch, no doubt, but that's an important next step for us.
Yeah. What's the lessons from like how to do a pre-study or a market test like this? What did you look at to get the confidence to do those big order volumes that were required? And are there some lessons from that?
Do you know, it's funny you asked that because it goes back a while. I actually did my dissertation at university on snack bars, would you believe? So what are we talking now? 20 years ago?
Don't show your age.
I did my degree in business management and marketing, and I chose to do my dissertation on the misleading messaging in the snack bar industry. So strangely enough, it was even a bugbear when I was in my early 20s. It's a funny market, snacking. One of the most successful launches into supermarkets, kind of category shifting launches, was the Belvita breakfast biscuit in the UK. I don't know if you have that in Sweden. Do you have it? And, if you think of it in simple terms, it's a biscuit that is marketed as a breakfast snack, as a breakfast option.
Yeah.
And it was hugely successful. And it's just marketing. And it's misleading marketing. And that's what my whole dissertation however many years ago was on. And fast forward 20 years, we're in a similar place. There's a lot more products have come into this kind of healthy snacking market in response to customer demand. People need to snack. And, we've done a lot of work on why people snack, and it's kind of obvious in a way. And, it's people who are on the go, people who are needing an energy boost, and people who need to fill up till the next opportunity to sit down and have a meal or another snack. If that's, some people eat little and often, other people try and get through to the next meal. And so many of the products out there don't tick those. And also, I should add, it's an enjoyable moment. As Chris said, with a cup of tea in the morning, it's a habit. It's not there because you're hungry. It's there just because you enjoy the moment. And we just didn't feel that the products out there in the market tick those boxes. High sugar, low fiber means it's going to give you a boost, a little energy high, and then it's going to give you a crash. Low fiber means it doesn't keep you full for very long. A lot of the protein bars out there tick some boxes, but they're full of emulsifiers, they're full of sweeteners, they're full of preservatives. So if we're really trying to be healthy, and, snacking isn't bad for you, let's be really clear. There's lots of research out there. Snacking is okay, but you need to make every bite count. So every bite should be not just about calories, but it should be about adding nutrition. And I suppose that early research for me was the beginning of it. And then as we went on, and we heard a lot from customers, as Chris mentioned, about, I love the powder, but I'm struggling to take it every day. Or a whole other group of customers who say, powders just aren't for me. It's too much bother for me. And we can't ignore those customers. They are, that is a thing for some people. So the bar sort of, in other ways, was kind of inspired by lots of feedback from our customers too.
What's been what effect have you seen when you launch like a new product line like this? Is it cannibalizing the other product, or is it adding adding to revenue and volume, or is it even like multiplicative? I couldn't say that.
I think there will inevitably be some people switching and cannibalizing some sales, but we haven't really seen that significant. Yeah. But what we have seen is the bar format is something that people really, really love. We've seen a 50% month-on-month growth average since we launched the bar a year ago. So it's absolutely fine.
And it's totally changed our
incredible
strategy. The bar now, I'd say about 80% of our ad spend on Meta is for the bar. It is a lower price point. It's a really easy product to sell in 2 or 3 seconds, or whatever you have in these kind of quick moments to sell to people. And when we get people into the brand through the bar, we can then use it to sell the supplements. And that's become a really, really great user journey for us. And I think what will be interesting is when we launch the second bar, it's something we talk about. Are we going to capitalize the success of the gut bar? Our second bar has got our mind powder in it. So it's all about brain health, which is another massive trend this year, and rightly so. That will be interesting. We're hoping that we're going to tap into a different audience who are more interested in supporting their focus than they are in their gut health. But obviously there's a crossover there. I personally eat a gut bar almost every day. Will I eat a gut bar and a brain bar every day? Time will tell.
I think I will.
You will.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I'd like to dig in a bit to your whole multi-channel setup. Maybe start was that always the plan to go multi-channel? It's quite ambitious.
Yeah, thinking back to my first pitch deck, there was always a multi-channel strategy in there. And from the business I worked at before, there was I got a lot of that exposure from there. So we now play on Amazon. So we're direct to consumer, Amazon, and retail. And so our direct to consumer business is probably around 75%. Amazon's about 20%, and 5% is retail. So we haven't even scratched the surface on retail, really. And we're in the process of trying to expand that, with the bars leading the charge, because the opportunities for retail on supplements is actually quite limited. The shelf space isn't huge. But bars, you can buy almost anywhere. So we want that to be a mainstream retail.
What are the main pros and cons of each channel in your experience?
I think one of the reasons, it's interesting to hear your answer actually on that, because I think when we first launched, we always expected to go into retail, but I think we always saw it as a sort of a small part of our business, 5-10% is sort of where we would settle. And I think now we're in a place where we really want it by the end of this year to be more like 20%. And the reason for that, and the advantage that we see of retail, is trial. It is marketing. For us, the profit margins in retail are really tight. We have a very good product with relatively tight margins. So when we play in the world of wholesale, it becomes quite difficult. But there is no doubt, and there is a quite different conversation here between supplements and bars. We have a lot of customers that discover us in, for example, Whole Foods, and then they will come online to subscribe. And that's really strong. And the association with Whole Foods is lovely. It's the right place for us to be. The team are brilliant on site. And, there is no doubt that exposure, Selfridges. I remember when we launched in Selfridges and we had so many people saying to us, that is amazing. And Chris and I were thinking, well, yeah, it's cool, but they're not going to sell a lot, for commercially. So, supplements is not a big thing for Selfridges. We had a little space in the corner. The team on site were barely trained. But it was interesting how in people's minds, it was a big achievement for the brand. So being able to say stopped in Selfridges was a big thing. And I think in the world of supplements, trust is huge. So the fact that Selfridges trusted us meant a consumer could trust us. So it was a brand kind of affiliation was really important. With the bar, I think it is so important. We have so many customers. We have 20, 30 inquiries, I'd say, a day from people saying, I just want to buy one. Where do I just buy one? I'm not interested in buying a box of 12 online. I'm not interested in subscribing. I just want to buy one. And that's why we're working really hard right now to get into kind of major retailers. We're about to launch our first major retailer, hopefully this month, if not early in April. And we have really exciting conversations ongoing with others. We have loads of stockists, but not kind of one big national stockist yet. We need to be able to say to people, we're in Waitrose, we're in Tesco, we're in Sainsbury's, so they can just kind of grab and go. But online remains important because those customers will be buying it for £2.20 in a store. And if they love it, hopefully they will transition online where they can stock and buy in bulk. And the subscription becomes less scary if you've tried it and you love it.
What have you seen as the key success factor for the different channels? Are they similar apart from having a very good product?
Yeah. Well, I think to be successful in retail, it's different answer with supplements and snacks. I think to be successful with supplements, the team on site really need to be trained and need to be informed. We've launched with certain stockists where the product sort of just sits and gets a bit dusty on shelf. You can walk into some stockist and say, "Hi, do you guys stock Indie?" And the team kind of goes, yeah, I think so. So how are those people going to help when someone says, "I'm struggling with my digestion, I'm really bloated, what's the right product for me?" That's really tough. So choosing retailers that invest in their teams and support our training sessions with those teams, that's critical for success.
And to add to that, for Amazon specifically, I always think Amazon is a great stress tester for your messaging and your product pages, because the Amazon customer is coming onto the page pretty cold. They don't really know the brand. It's popped up in a search, and you need to sell them on basically from being totally cold on what the product does, why they need it. So we use Amazon to kind of test what our messaging needs to be on our direct to consumer channels at our website. So
we did that with Daily Gut. So before we made the decision to rename Body to Daily Gut, we changed the sort of headline messaging on Amazon. So the product was still called Body, but we changed the description for Daily Gut, and we could see that the appetite for that product, the interest, immediately increased just by making a name change, which better reflects its primary benefit. So that allowed us, as Chris said, it was kind of almost like a test bed for what was to come. And then I think to wrap up your answer, I think what's made us really successful on our own D2C site is customer service. One of the first hires we made was Pia, our customer care lead, who is fantastically smart and efficient and really cares about servicing our customer. We get a lot of questions and we love those questions. People interrogating our back of pack, people checking that it's the right product for them, asking the source of our ingredients. I mean, the weird and wonderful questions we get, but that's brilliant that people are really questioning brands. And we always say, if a brand isn't responsive to those questions, that should be a flag. We're really, I hope any of our customers would agree with this, we're really good at looking after people. Things go wrong, usually delivery related, and we do everything we can to fix it. I mentioned I was packing up a box yesterday. That was to get product to a customer as quickly as possible because our delivery partner let us down. So I did it from the office, and we got it shipped from here to sort of speed it up. So, I think that service and that level of care and responsiveness has been a huge part of our success online too, to retain customers, which is a massive part of our marketing and our overall strategy, is retention as well as acquisition.
If you started today, would you still go multi-channel early? I guess it seems like there's a lot of work to optimize for several channels at the same time.
Yeah, I think maybe we would have gone earlier.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
And
we turned down one of the biggest national retailers I think it was about a year in. And we got approached on LinkedIn and we said, we did a call and then we said no. And the reason we did that was because we had such a lean team, and neither of us, based on our training and our background, wanted to launch in 200 stores with loads of products just getting dusty on shelf. We didn't have the resource to support that sell through. And I suppose that's when we were still finding our way, still finding the right 3PL. We were still tweaking the product format. So I don't know, hindsight's a good thing. It was kind of crazy that we turned it down, but it felt too soon for us. And you hear so many stories of brands launching into retail and then having to pull out. And we were cautious in that respect. I don't know if that was the right decision. I guess we'll never know.
Well, it could have crippled us and overexposed us at that time. So I think ultimately it was the right decision. So
how do the economics differ fundamentally across the channels? And how do you sort of optimize around that? I understand that you saw retail a bit as a marketing channel, almost, right?
Yeah.
Just share how you think of the mix and how you strategize around the channel
so
mix.
I think we take the lower margin from wholesale as a marketing expense, essentially. People seeing it on shelf, getting familiar with it. I think a customer needs to see a brand 7 times or in 7 different locations before they actually make a purchase. So I think, different channels have their different margins, and it's weighing up the cost of doing business on those. But ultimately, it all needs to work together to drive the ship forward. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you need to get to profitability. And in the early days, that can feel quite far off.
I think especially we have optimized as we've gone on. We mentioned earlier our margins are tight. We approach MPD quite differently from, Chris and I both have a corporate background. I would write MPD briefs, and the first thing I would talk about is our target price point. We don't write MPD briefs like that. And I actually often say to people, buy from founder-led brands who have a passionate founder, because they're not worrying about price when they brief a product. This was we want this, we want this, we want this. And then when you get a cost, you kind of fall off your chair and go, oh my God, can I sell a snack bar for £5? We approached it completely differently. And also your volumes are small. So you're dealing with, someone told me the other day at the cost price of one of our main competitors' snack bars. And, it was really, really, really low. It's a different recipe. It's 90% dates, which are relatively cheap. It's hard to compete with that when we're ordering a 10th of what they're ordering. It's probably even less than that. But, we're playing the long game here. And even in the last 4 years, we have realized savings. We've actually just done something really mad, which is lower the price on 2 of our products, the RRP on 2 of our products, because we have seen savings. And much to Chris's dismay, rather than enjoying, you can tell he's the money guy and I'm the brand guy. I literally said to Chris, we've got a bit more margin here. Let's lower the RRPs. And he was like, why would we do that? And the honest answer is, as corny as it may sound, we're on a mission to get these products into as many people's hands as possible. And we really believe that they can support people's health in the short and long term. We don't want to keep that with, this little audience. We want to be as affordable and accessible as possible. So we've lowered the price, and we will continue to realize cost savings as we grow bigger. Not, I might add, by making any compromises on the quality of the ingredients, the dose of the ingredients. And we'll hopefully get your margin back again.
Yeah, I think so. We've committed to making supplements accessible. Some of our competitors are at price points where it's just unrealistic for a lot of people. Like £70 to £90 a month is not something someone can allocate. But a lot of people can allocate their hard-earned disposable income on. So,
and we don't have to pay for a celebrity face, which is, but this is such a bugbear of ours. You look at these competitors and their price points, £100 for a supplement. Like, we really believe, as an aside, that our product is better than their products. A lot of experts would agree with us on that. We're not spending millions of pounds on podcast sponsorship and billboards all around Leicester Square. We're really focused on getting these products into people's hands, as many people's hands, with the most honest, transparent price point that we possibly can. And I think that's why that price reduction for us was also quite important. It was sort of being honest with our customers and saying, we are growing, thank you for helping us, and here's a bit of a kickback.
Do you also see an effect from the price reduction?
We've only just done it, but Amazon being our test bed, we have a Mind trial pack, which is the kind of entry into this Mind product. We put this down from £12 to £10.
The conversion rate went up by 150% in the first week or so. So it's,
Wow.
It does make a big difference. You kind of sit within different price bounds, and I think anytime you kind of fall within a different price band, you can realize some real gains.
And what we're hoping with our that's customer acquisition. I think a lot of it with the trial pack, but we're hoping with our existing customers, it drives loyalty, and it drives, maybe somebody in a few months was thinking, oh gosh, this is kind of a bit expensive for me. So hopefully lifetime value will increase if people can stick with us now.
It's a really interesting trade-off. Talking about loyalty, how big share of your direct-to-consumer is subscription?
It's about
roughly
half. Yeah, so half of our customers every month are subscribers.
And we do a lot to drive loyalty. We actually questioned the other day if we do too much. We send out vouchers to say thank you for being with us for 6 months. We send out a bottle and you've been with us for 3 months. So lots of kind of surprising and delighting. But again, I think that comes from our background. We come from businesses where brand is really, really important. Loyalty is important, and kind of going above and beyond. And hopefully that's been part of our success.
But it was interesting to hear. I mean, obviously launching products, multiple channels, driving subscriptions, and how do you forecast demand in your business? What's your method? The real
trick. This is always
true one.
The hardest thing, and forecasts are always so hard to pull together. There's seasonality at play, especially in supplements, particularly. Snacking and the snack market is in many respects, it's a lot easier as a business because you don't see the same seasonality. Everyone wants to snack all year round. And also the kind of price point also de-risks a lot of, if your disposable income suddenly drops because of some new government led thing, and the first thing you're going to drop is a £40 a month supplement, but are you going to drop your £1.40 bar that you enjoy every day? It's just not the same thing.
I think the growth on our snack bar, has really surprised us. Chris mentioned earlier on, what are we tracking now? 50%?
50%. An average of 50% since we launched.
So, quite scary.
It's insane.
Yeah, insane. Our repeat purchase on it is tracking around 91%. So 91% of people are repurchasing within 3 months. So I guess it's why we love subscribers, because they give us some sort of ability to track. But it's scary when you're placing POs for, huge volumes now. And even by our big manufacturers' standards, we're thankfully past the MOQ level. But
they don't give us the payment terms that our other manufacturers got. So there's that mismatch between procuring the product and actually having the funds to then pay for it.
And also shelf life. These products have a 12-month shelf life. The supplements are more like 2 years. So that's another factor. And also retail, we mentioned that we're about to launch our first big retailer. Their forecasts are very kind of finger in the air. So, and there's no contractual obligation there. So we just have to sort of hope that they're right. We're talking to 3 other retailers, all looking very positive. If one of them comes good, that's great. If all 3 of them came good at the same time, which would be a wonderful problem to have. We have a manufacturer who can scale up very quickly, but from a cash flow perspective, these are all things at play. We were talking about it literally yesterday. We had some positive meetings and we were like, what if all of these come good? What do we do then? Yeah. Like I say, I'd love to have that problem. So let's see if we have them.
Hence the need to update our investor deck and go for funds.
Yeah. And have you found how do you just practically, if you, recommend to someone else building a brand, right? How do you, plan? Do you have a strategy for balancing this with cash conversion cycles, demand hard to forecast, How do you make sure like not go off the rails? And
I think something we're really, really lucky with is that we have some incredibly experienced advisors who, in moments like yesterday, we can ring up. We had a call yesterday afternoon with one of our advisors who's the commercial director of a massive FMCG brand, works with cash flow dramas every day, works with retailers every day, and we sort of use her as a sounding board. So we have lots of kind of, we have sort of 4 different advisors. Our chairman is another one who we kind of lean on in moments of like, also to give clarity and perspective to situations. That's really important. Day to day, Chris has taught himself to be an accountant, which I'm always increasingly impressed by.
Well, yeah, but I don't think cash flow is always the hardest thing in any business, and it's the lifeblood of the business. So it's something that often keeps me up at night. But it's just another problem to solve. And if you're moving in the right direction, people will.
It's a good problem.
It's a good problem.
Yeah. And we should also mention, another one of our hires is Francis, who's our supply and ops manager. And, Chris was sort of leading that function for a while, again, totally self-taught. And Francis's day-to-day, her focus is on crunching numbers, making sure that our supply chain is in a good place, that our partners are in a good place. And that's been
elaborate Excel documents.
Like you wouldn't believe.
Tracking subscribers versus one-time purchases and just the nuances of month-on-month change.
Yeah.
I
think that's been a really important hire for us, because having someone who's really tuned into that, we are a lean team, but each person who's on the team has a very important remit and is very, very focused on the success of the business, and also very aware of the challenges of startup life. Francis totally gets that we'd love to order 100,000 shippers because it's a lot cheaper, but she's really in tune with Chris and cash flow and, balancing economies of scale with cash, et cetera. So just working really closely together and relying on experts as much as we can.
How have you thought about the team setup? Because you do a lot with a relatively, lean team, right? What's been your approach to that?
I guess so. Our first hire was customer care. We then recruited Francis, who's supply and ops, and then Talia, who is our founder's associate, is her title. She's also our in-house nutritionist. Talia does a lot of content marketing. She supports with the kind of processing of wholesale orders. She's one of those, does a bit of everything, lots of juggling going on, and is totally brilliant at it. From a freelance kind of / agency perspective, we have somebody doing all of our meta performance marketing. We have someone supporting us with CRM, making sure, coming back to this point about retention being really important. She really supports us with all our email marketing and making sure that our flows, our retention, our acquisition is working as hard as it can.
And then Amazon specialist, meta specialist. And
finance.
Yeah. We've kind of along the way pieced these people together, and it's usually at the time where we're spending too much of our time doing X. We need someone else who's better and more experienced to actually take it off us at this point.
We really try to recruit people who can do the job better than us, if that makes sense. So if it's something that we can do, then we try and we outsource. It's hard though, it's hard to pay somebody to do something that you can do, but sometimes we've acknowledged that has to happen. So I'm pretty good on Canva, but I acknowledge that spending my time designing a poster is not the best use of my time. So we have a designer that kind of flips in and out. I think using freelancers has allowed us to say in PR, we've used different agencies and different freelancers over the years. It allows you to sort of test people as well. And we now have a really, really good team of freelancers who we go back to time and time again. But we've been through a lot of different people to get to that place. And that's the beauty of freelance and agency, I guess, is that you kind of, you don't recruit someone and then find yourself with the same person 3 years later, even if it's not the right fit.
And also one of the key learnings, I guess, over the process is knowing, not necessarily with people, but with some of our partners when it comes to 3PLs, knowing when things are going wrong and knowing when to say, we need to change, we need someone else. And I think some of the key turning points of the business have been when we do make those changes, things just move so much more efficiently. You're not dealing with the same level of problems. You can then just put your focus on other problems, which can actually move the business.
Are there also some like 1, 2, or 3 tools that make a difference, or automations or things that you've figured out that allows you to do this so efficiently?
I'm not sure we're very good at that.
I mean, automations in terms of no, we haven't actually come up with.
Mention the magical spreadsheet.
Yeah, we're still doing a lot on spreadsheets. We're looking around at lots of different operational tools to help us, and there are lots of new startups coming out that we're reviewing. But I think
we're pretty stuck with we use Shopify to manage the website, which has a brilliant suite of helpful tools. We also use Minsoft, which is a kind of partnership that evolved out of our warehouse. So there are
warehouse management systems. So Minsoft's a good one. We have a big tech stack that kind of plugs into all of those. Shopify is just so easy to use, and the apps that kind of plug into that with Klaviyo, Recharge, and Kendo, Yotpo. So all of these different features that kind of help us cultivating reviews to customer communications to automated email flows. Our email flows are very complex and elaborate. So I think that's probably the most automation we have. But from an operational perspective, we're still pretty old school.
Well, the world economy runs on spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Quite a powerful thing. All right. I know we're running a little bit out of time. I'd like to do a quick fire round and see if we can make that work with quick questions and answers if you're up for it.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So what's your best acquisition channel right now? Meta. What's your biggest margin lever?
Scale. Is that an answer?
I'm not sure. Margin lever. What do you mean by margin lever?
Like, how do you create a margin or essentially a product margin for yourself?
How do we make that a margin?
But scale seems like a good answer, I think.
Yeah, scale.
I think we're just,
What's your worst operations pain right now?
Actually, currently, it's getting some products to the US with the recent trade tariffs. So we've had a total nightmare. We're trying to launch with a hotel group over there. And the product just keeps coming back. So...
Oh, wow. Is that your first expansion or geographic expansion?
We've got a few international things going on, but it's our first one in the US. And we were very excited, and it's quickly become an absolute nightmare. We'll thank Trump for his changing tariffs. We're not quite sure what's going on. But at the moment, it's becoming a bit of a vanity project. We're not quite sure how profitable it's going to be by the end of it.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so back to the quickfire.
Yes.
One hire that changed everything.
I'm going to say Talia, our founder's associate, allowed both of us to actually have a little bit of time out the office when we had our second child.
And I would say Frances, because she helps me with the operational side. So
but
we
also,
both have different.
But to be honest, also Pia, because when we were trying to do customer care ourselves, it was a nightmare. We can't pick. They've all been brilliant.
Yeah. You've been good at hiring, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay. One supplier mistake that you won't repeat.
Doing a white label product for another brand.
Incredibly distracting, and the moment that contract ended, we refocused on our business, and the success has been phenomenal. So it was too distracting.
I was just going to ask one channel you'd avoid early, but it sounds like it's the same.
Yeah.
All right. Then one thing you believe about your category that most people get wrong.
I think for snacking, it's changing the status quo of what snacks can be. Actually nutritionally dense, and tasty at the same time. A lot of people associate with health with not tasting good. And I think that is an assumption that we're challenging.
Great answer.
That's quite powerful.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I agree. What's one brand that you look up to and why?
My background's in the beauty industry. I think there's a lot of beauty brands out there that are doing incredible things. I'm a big fan of Beauty Pie, a business that is very focused on phenomenal formulas that still feel, well, that are effective, but still feel premium and enjoyable, but at a price point that feels very fair. The customer service is brilliant. Just the whole end-to-end experience with them is brilliant. And yeah, they've changed the industry, and I think they've forced a lot of other brands to sort of pull their stocks up. And I'd love to replicate the same in our own space.
And I, coming at it from a slightly different angle, recently I've been very impressed with a pet food brand called Years, which is quite a new brand, but they are really changing what pet food should be from a fresh, the ingredients they use, the way they package it and format for dogs. We have a little cockapoo and she loves it. And the experience that from a brand perspective, the customer journey,
the custom care, the customer service. Yeah. Really
the way they also promote, they have a Michelin star chef at lots of shows cooking these delicious looking meals. And he's like, I've used all the ingredients that are in the dog food to make this meal. And I just think they're doing some incredible things.
I think they're also solving a problem. You know, we both love when you see a brand that goes into an industry and really does do something different rather than just more of the same. They've definitely done that in terms of their format. So yeah.
It also resonates a lot with how you build your brand as well, right? That product obsession that really comes through, not skimping on quality.
Yeah.
Okay, my very last question. What's your number one trade secret? You have a hard-learned lesson or mental model or trick that shapes how you build a business?
So I'm going to say something that one of our advisors said to us a few months ago, and it really struck a chord with both of us, and we've repeated it numerous times since. What people want and what people need are not always the same thing. And it's really changed our approach across all aspects of our business, in the way that we message, thinking about our price point, thinking about future NPD. I think it's something to kind of keep coming back to again and again. We want to put the customer first, but having that sort of nuance at the back of our minds, I think it has been really powerful.
That is very interesting. I think I will keep thinking about that for us as well for a while. So thank you so much for joining today. I'm super impressed with what you're building and hope to stay in touch.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you for having us.
Cool.
For anybody listening, please like and subscribe and share any thoughts and feedback. We love to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks so much, Peter.